Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make these autumn leaves, either earrings or a necklace with them. It's the same technique and this is what they look like. So a nice dangle, kind of like a tassel earring here, where I've just made them graduate in different lengths as well. And the leaves themselves, I have two different sizes as well. So this is what they look like. And I added some gemstones and beads to it as well. So these are the earrings, and then as for the necklace, it looks something like this. Again, a kind of tassel effect here. We just have a bunch of leaves in different autumn colours is what I chose to work with. And the beads as well add a bit of sparkliness to it, but also breaks up the leaves a little bit. And then this is the necklace. So it'll make a nice set, obviously. And you can choose to make them whatever colours you want to suit whatever season as well. So if you want to learn how to make these, then keep watching. So these are the things that we'll need. Now the cord that I'll be using here is a 0.4mm Eslon, and I'm just working with these nice autumn colours that go really well together, I think. You can use many different types and thicknesses of cord or thread, and also obviously choose whatever colours you want to use. And then what I'm also going to use is this chain. So we just need some short lengths of chain here. This is just what I'm going to be working with. It's quite a fine one that I'm working with, just because I want that delicate look for my leaves, but you can use whatever chain you want to. And then I'm also going to add some beads to my design here. Now I've got two different beads. I've got the first ones are 6mm rounds, and these are just black agate faceted stones. And then I've got some 3mm copper beads as well. I just thought they would look nice and go really well with the colours that I'm using for my cord. But you can also choose whatever beads that you want to. And then I have my jump rings and then my earring findings there. So let's get it all together and let's get started. So to get started we need to cut a cord, and what I have here is 5 lengths of about 45 centimeters each. Now that's for one leaf. We're making one leaf at a time basically, but also I've got a couple of different sizes in the leaves. So I have this one is the largest leaf, and then for the smallest leaf I'm just using the same length, but I'm just using 4 cords for that instead. So we need to cut our cords, and this is for the large leaf that we're going to be making. So to start off with, what we need to do first is attach all the cords that we cut together so we can start making the leaf. So I'm going to start with one of my lengths here, and then kind of towards one end of it. What I'm going to do is just attach it to my macrame board here, just to make it easier to work with. You can also use pins or whatever that you prefer to work with. For now it's just attaching it so we can attach the other cords to this one. So I'm just going to go all the way across. So it's nice and secure and it's not going to move around while we're working with it. And then what I'm going to do is then take my next length of cord, so take one cord at a time, and then we need to find the middle by putting the ends together. So just like that, and then up here where I have my finger, and that loop is the middle, roughly. And then we need to attach this to that first holding cord on the board. I put this loop, so just keep hold of it so we know roughly where the middle is. I put that loop underneath the holding cord on the board, and then take it back around on itself, put my fingers through, and then pull the ends of that same cord through as well. And then you kind of get this little pretzel shape, as you can see there. I'm going to tighten that. And then what we need to do is add some half hitches to this on each side. So you'll find your cords are naturally coming out to their own side, so just keep them to that. I'm going to start with my right one. Take that back around the top of the holding cord, and then back underneath and come up through the loop here that we make with the same cord. Pull that all the way tight to that side of the lark's head knot. Take the other cord there on the other side, do the exact same thing, back around the top and underneath and up through itself basically. Tighten that. I'm going to go on the other side of the lark's head knot. So there we now have one lark's head knot with a half hitch on each side. I'm just going to push that to the side there, and then you want to attach the rest of your cords in the exact same way. So now I've attached all my cords there, and I have my one holding cord, that's the original one, and then I've attached 4 cords, so that makes the 5 cords in total there. Now each single working cord here that we've attached has turned into 2 lengths to work with, And like I said, I'm making different sized leaves for the design that I make. You don't have to do that, it's just personal preference. If you want to make a smaller leaf, all you do, because the other leaves that I made, the smaller ones, instead of attaching 4 working cards here originally, I just attach 3 and then work with those. It's the exact same technique and you do the exact same thing. You could also, if you want to make some larger ones, just attach more cards than this, but everything else is exactly the same. So then to start making the leaf here, what we need to do is start working and making double half hitches. So just separate all the cords out first. Now the very first one I'm going to move from right to left. It doesn't matter if you go the other way, it's completely the same, just obviously mirrored. So the very first one here I'm going to take out and out to the side, out of the way, because we're going to start working with the very next one in, so the second one in from whatever side you're starting from. And I'm going to take that, and that's going to be the very first holding cord. So I'll take that and take it over, lay it over all the rest here, all the rest of the working cords. That's then coming out underneath. And then what I got to do is take the very next one that you bump into there, that's coming underneath this holding cord now. Always make sure when you grab a new cord that you take the very next one. I'm going to take that and then take it around that cord, back around itself, and then through the loop. So it's looping around like this. And then as I'm tightening this, we need to make sure we hold the holding cord so we get a straight line underneath all the knots where we attached all the cords. So I tighten that all the way up like that, and then again take it around the cord and loop back in itself and tighten that. So that's the first double half hitch that we've done. So now we use that working cord, we can put that out of the way, so out to the side. And then we need to take the very next one. Make sure you grab the very next one so you're not crossing over your working cords there underneath. Take it around your finger and back through the loop and tighten it. Around your finger, through the loop and tighten it. Out to the side so it doesn't get in the way. And what we basically need to do is move all the way across to the end of the row here till we don't have any more working cords left to use. Making a double half hitch with every single one, and making sure as we tighten our knots that the row that we're building is lined straight underneath the other one, so if you can avoid it, to not have any gaps in between the rows. Up to the side when you've used it. Getting towards the end of the row now. Double half hitch. The last one of our working cords here. Round your finger and through the loop. You get kind of a reverse 6 with your working cord, looping around the holding cord. So there we go, that's the very first row. It's running right underneath the original one where we attached all the working cords. So then to finish off this row, and before we move on to start the next one, we need to also incorporate that original holding cord on this side. So what I'm going to do is release this end from the board, just this end. I'm still going to leave the other one in. And then this is going to be the very last working cord. So we need to lift up the holding cord from that row that we've just made, and then bring that new working cord underneath that. Do the exact same thing. Make a double half hitch, and then as you're tightening it, make sure you hold your holding cord fairly taut, straight out. Just like that. And this is going to be the last knot on this row. And basically you can see we kind of then also finished off the previous row nicely because we brought it down to the next one. So that's this row done then. We need to move on and start the next one. So we go back to the beginning. The original working cord, the very first one, that we didn't use at all for that row, we left that out. Just keep that out of the way. And then what we're going to do now is go back to the beginning of the working cords that we did use. The very first one, we're going to do the same, take that out of the way. So every time we start a new row basically, we're going to take the very first cord out of the way and out to the side, and then the second one in from the beginning is the one we're going to take over all the others and use as the holding cord. And then the very next one that's coming underneath is the first working cord. And then we just want to repeat the exact same thing. Do your double half hitches around your finger and through the loop, and make sure to tighten it. So this row we're building now is also coming straight underneath the previous one, out to the side, going all the way across. with our double half hitches, and we're basically going to be building rows like this, and every time we make a new row they become gradually smaller because we take out that very first cord right at the beginning of every single row. So every row is also going to end up being quicker to make. Again, getting towards the end of our working cords here. Round your finger and through the loop. The last one. Round your finger and through the loop. And once more for a double half hitch. So there, now we're in the same position as when we finished the row on the previous one. So to completely finish off that row, we want to do the exact same thing. Release the holding cord from the previous row that's coming straight out there. Make sure to bring it underneath the holding cord in the row that we're currently making, and then make a double half hitch with that as well to bring that down. So that's how we finish off every row as well nicely. You can see we're going to get a nice edge graduating at an angle there. And then again we just keep doing the same thing. So go back to the beginning. So I always go back to my right side because I started from the right. If you feel more comfortable starting from the left and working that direction, that's absolutely fine. Take the very first one, bring it out of the way. The next one in is the holding cord we'll bring over to the side, over all the rest. And then take every single working cord across there, one at a time, making a double half hitch to build up this next row. And as you can see again, this one is then even smaller than the previous row because we take out that one cord at the beginning of every single row. So we're just building it here, and this is basically building up the one half of the leaf, and then afterwards we're going to go back down again and then build the other half. Now I'm at the end of this row. Release the holding cord from the previous row again, bring it underneath the current holding cord and use that as the last working cord. Tighten that just like that, and there we go, that's finished off that row as well. So you now just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So go back to the beginning, take out the very first cord, grab the very next one, use that as the holding cord, and start building up your next row there. And then keep building your rows until you've pretty much run out of cords to be able to use, because then that's the point where we actually reach the point of the leaf. So once you have about 2 to 3 cords left, then I'm going to come back to you and show you what we do next. So I've now kept going here, taking out one cord every time I make a new row, and I've ended up now having 3 cords left, so 2 working cords, and then the last holding cord for the row that I just made. So I have enough left to do one more row, so I take my very first cord out of the way. I only have this one working cord, so that's going to be the holding cord. As you can see, we don't have any other working cords. So for this last one, I'm just going to take the holding cord from the previous row and take it straight underneath the current holding cord, and then just make a double half hitch as if we were finishing off one of the other rows. Just like this. And tighten that. So there we have the very last row. As you can see, it's just a little tiny one there. And that is going to be the very tip of the leaf really as well. So here we can see, if we take all the other cords out as well, if we look at it like this, we have rows building on top of each other, gradually getting smaller because we take out that one cord per row, and then this is going to be the one half of our leaf. So now that we've got this half of the leaf, what we need to start doing is working from the tip and basically working the opposite way. So work our way down on the other side of the leaf, building that at the same time attaching the 2 sides together. What I can also do is, because we now have a bit of work done here with our rows, I'm going to take some pins, it's just some T-pins that I'm using, and pin it into your board, and it's going to be a little bit more stable and secure to work with. And I just like to pin it in at an angle because when we're building up the next rows here, just fasten it however you feel comfortable with. And when I have this kind of work, what I like to do is make sure to put my pins in between the rows and not go through the actual rows. If First of all, it's easier to go through, but also I don't want to damage my cord too much if I can help it. So then to start building up this other side, what we have is all the cords that we've taken out along the way to build that first side that we've done. We just want to kind of put them a little bit to the side so they're not in the way as we're working, but we can still reach them because we need to start using them now as well. So we need to start from the tip now. So basically then turn the direction. Instead of going this way out, we need to turn direction and come down the other way. So the two cords that I just used last, for that very smallest little row at the tip, we need to basically flip that around. So the one that was the holding cord that's coming out towards the direction of the tip there, we need to take that back on itself like that, but still on top of the other one that was the working cord. And then we need to do the same thing, but we're just swapping hands. So I take my working cord, that was also the working cord in the previous row there, around the holding cord like that to get a half hitch to begin with, and tighten this all the way up till that knot won't go any further. So what you're basically going to have is a little, almost like horseshoe shape there. Another one to make it a double half hitch around the holding cord. Tighten that right underneath the previous one for the double half hitch, and then that's the very tip. So that row that we just made is basically the same as the last one we made on the other side, and that's what we're going to keep doing. So we're building the equivalent one on the other side is going to, the new ones that we make here is going to be the same as the equivalent one to the other side, so the same size as well. So that was the first one. So now to make the next one, we take the one that was the working cord, in this case, bring that over, and then in this case the holding cord one, because we're still only working with the two cords, that turns into the working cord. So like that, so they're swapping jobs basically. Remember, the holding cord always needs to come above the working cords. Take the working cord around your finger and through the loop, tighten that so it won't go any further. One more for a double half hitch. And we're now building up a new row. So this is going to be the second to last one on the other side, but obviously it needs to be as long as that one, so the same size. Right now it's shorter than that, so what we also need to do, because we need to graduate them upwards now in size, what I'm going to do is then take the one we left out from that row, so the original working cord that we left out from that row, the very first one we run into basically, have it underneath the holding cord for this row, and do a double half hitch with that one as well. Tighten that all the way up, just like that, and you can see that brings the two sides together, but it also makes those two rows, the equivalent ones on each side, the exact same. So we now need to continue doing this as well. You can also help putting a pin right at the tip there to hold the piece in place so it's not moving around. We always want to go back to now the opposite side, so the very first working cord, the same as we did in here, but it's just on the other side because we're working in the opposite direction now. Bring that over the rest, take the very next cord you run into, make a double half hitch to build up this next row that we're making, like that. Now because that was only one, we now need to bring in the holding cord from the previous row, make a double half hitch with that, just like that. And then the same principle, as we can see the equivalent row on the other side, it's not quite as long as that, and also we need to connect the two sides, so we always need to finish off a row on this side that we're building now on the second side with a cord, the very first one we run into, from the opposite side. It also connects the two together. So bring that underneath, make a double half hitch like that. That finishes off this row and makes it the same size as the other one. And now to build the next one, we're just going to keep repeating the same step over again. Take the very first holding cord from the outside there, bring it over the rest, take one cord at a time and make a double half hitch to build up this next row. And now on this side, obviously, because we're bringing in one cord for every row, they're going to graduate upwards in size. Whereas in the other row they got smaller for every row. To finish off this one, take your cord from the opposite side, first one you run into, and make this row equivalent to the one on that side, just like that. And you just continue doing this, building up this side so they become equivalent to each other and also connected. And then once you reach the bottom to the very last row, we need to just finish off that slightly differently than all the others here. So when we get to that point, I'm going to show you how we do that. So I've now continued making this side as well, and I've reached the point where I have one cord left on the opposite side here that I took out from the beginning. So that's going to be the very last row. That's how I know that. So in this case, what we need to do, as we're making this row, we need to finish off a lot of, well, all of these cords really, because obviously otherwise we're going to have a load of ends left. So this one is the original cord from there, the holding cord from the first row. Just don't take notice of that yet, just put that out of the way. This one is the first one we took out from that side. Now what we need to do is to start this next row. Same thing, start with your very first working cord, bring it over, that turns into your holding cord. Then we'll start out the same way, do a double half hitch with this first one here, just like that. Now what we need to do to finish off these cords as we go, bring the working cord that you just used into the holding cord. So we now have two holding cords there working as one. Then we move on, take the very next working cord coming underneath, do a double half hitch around both of these holding cords now, and tighten that all the way up, just like this. There we go. So now what we need to do is, as we go, then cut off these threads or cords. Now it doesn't really matter which one you cut off because they're both fastened in there, but what I always do is just see which one is the longer and which one is the shorter one, and I always just cut off the shortest one. So you want to take your scissors, go in, make sure obviously do not cut any of the other cords, and then go down almost all the way down to where it's coming out, cut that off. So you only have just a little tiny bit sticking out there, maybe about 1 millimeter if that. So we're now down to the one holding cord again. So the working cord that we just used to tie those two together, we now need to do the same thing, bring that into the holding cord, so you again have two. Then take the very next working cord here, separate them out, make sure you grab the right one, and then do another double half hitch around both of these with that working cord. Now what I just want to make sure to do is, because we have that little tip left of the one we just cut off, I just want to make sure I use this working cord to catch that and go over that so it doesn't kind of get pushed and sticks out a little bit. So just make sure of that, do a double half hitch just like that. Now these two holding cords are fastened in place. Pick the smallest one, take your scissors, go in, cut this one off. Now one holding cord again, bring the working cord you just used into that holding cord, so we have two. So basically always going to have two then for the rest of this row, because you always want to bring in the previous working cord to that. Next working cord, make a double half hitch, make sure you just catch that little tip from the previous cord you just cut off, tighten that, and basically doing it this way and then cutting off the cords as we go, it gives a really nice and neat finish to the piece without worrying about having to cut some off and then maybe glue or singe the ends too much. It's a much neater finish. So you just want to keep doing this all the way up here until we only have just a few cords left right at the very base of the leaf then. So I've now reached down here where I have only just a few cords left, and I just want to make sure to show you how I'm going to finish it off completely. This is the holding cord throughout. This is the last working cord that I used, so I'm going to bring that in. I've already cut off the one holding cord, the shortest one. So what we've got to do now is we have this one, it's the original one from the other side. Don't worry about that still. This is the last one that we haven't brought into it yet, but the first one we left out from the other side. What you got to remember to bring in that holding cord from the previous row on this side. So I'm going to do that now, bring that underneath. So it's still as the other times as we're making our rows, we just got to remember to do that. as we go and cut the other ones off here. So again, around both of them, bring it down, make sure to catch that little tail, tighten that. Same thing, pick the shortest one, cut that down, and then bring the working cord into the holding cord. So now we only have this one left that we left out. So this is the one that's for the very last row here as well. So we do the same thing, the two holding cords, the very last working cord, this is the one that's coming from the opposite side. Make your first half hitch, tighten that, make sure you catch that little tail, just like all the other times. You just get a little bit tangled. You can always use your pins as well to help pull out any cords or anything, it's quite handy. So like that, tighten that down, and then what I personally like to do is before I make it a fully double half hitch there, so I've only made one half of it yet, I go in and just cut off the shortest one of the holding cords to also get that very end width included into this double half hitch, and just finish it off with the same working cord, just like that. And there we go. And now what we have left are these two kind of end cords at the base of the leaf, and then the working cord that we just used. So we can now take this off the board, because basically the leaf itself is completed. Now it's just some finishing touches, and then it looks like that. So we obviously have these left. What I'm going to do first, I also want to get rid of this last working cord. So for that I'm going to go in and cut this down to have about 1 millimeter or 2 tail left, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is just take a lighter and then just singe down the end. Obviously be careful doing this because it's hot, it's a hot flame that we're working with. So just take your lighter there and just gently go in and singe down the end. And first of all it gives it a nice finish, but it also seals it in place so it's not going to come undone. So now what we have left is these two tails here. So what I'm going to do is bring them together and then just use them to tie a regular overhand knot with both of them together here, just like that. And then I want to make sure to push it down all the way to the very base of that leaf, just like this, because we're just then bringing them together both sides and just securing the very end in place here, like that. And then after that I want to just get rid of one more of these, because you can keep both if you want to for something, but also because of the beads or gemstones that I'm using, I can't get both of these cords through one of the beads there. So I just need to get rid of one of them. I do the same thing, cut down so I have 1 millimeter or 2 left, and then singe down the very end. And do this carefully, both because it's a naked flame, but also so you don't get too close and singe down other parts that you don't want to end up burning. So there we go. Now this is the leaf, finished leaf, with one tail basically attached to it still, and it's this tail that I'm going to use to add the beads and also add it on to whatever jump ring or chain that we want as well. So then to do that, I take this tail and then I just take the beads that I want to use. I start with my larger one here, get that on and let it drop all the way down, and then I grab my copper bead, same thing, let it drop all the way down, so it's going to look like this. And then I have my little piece of chain here. Now you obviously attach it to wherever you want to. For the earrings I attached it straight onto the chain. For the necklace I attached it onto some jump rings, a jump ring each. So it's completely up to you, just obviously make sure the jump rings are closed or that you're using closed jump rings. So I'm going to, in this case, use a chain and go through the very last link. I've already pre-cut the length that I know I want. Let it go all the way down here, and then it's coming out on the other side. I'm going to take it around the back and then pull it through itself. So we're basically making a knot here around and incorporating the chain into that knot. and just gently tighten it. Make sure we get the chain all the way down to where we want it to sit. Just like that. And I'm going to make another knot on top of that just to secure it extra in place. So go around the back of it and pull it through the loop. So we're tying a knot there, but around the chain and the leaf as well, incorporating that in. Just pull it nice and tight. And then we have the tail. I'm going to do the same thing to get rid of that. Cut down. So I have about 1 millimeter or 2 left. And take my lighter. Again, be careful with this. Also, we don't want to kind of get too close to the metal here, or beads, whatever you're using. Just gently singe down that end and then push it in place. And that completely seals that in place, so it's not going to come undone. So there we have basically one of our leaves for a link. So then this is one of the leaves that I'm going to use, and this is just for the earring. But obviously this is how I make the leaves themselves and attach the beads as well, and then either chain or jump rings. So these are all the ones that I'm going to use for an earring here. I've already pre-done the rest of them and got all the chain to the right length that I want them to be. So what I'm going to do is just take one jump ring now. Need to open it up to be able to attach all of these together, and then also attach them to the earring finding that we're going to use. So I'm just going to take one at a time here. Start with my longest one. Attach the very end, the opposite end where the leaf is, onto the jump ring here. And then you just want to go through and attach all of them, just in the order that you want them to be basically. So I've now attached all my leaves there, and I like to just have them sit in this kind of a little bit look where obviously they're different lengths, but also the leaves themselves are different sizes. So this is just how I like them to sit. You can obviously place them however you want to. I'm going to close up the jump ring so they're not going to fall back off again. Just like that. And then we just need to use another jump ring to attach to the earring finding, if that's how it works out for you. That's how it's going to sit right for me, because I'm going to go through here, through this jump ring then, and take my earring finding and add that as well. Just like that. Close it back up, and then once you've done that, your earring is basically going to be done. You want to make sure you close your jump rings nice and tight, just like that. So there we go. Put on the butterfly back as well, and then this is the finished earring. So this is how it looks. So I've already made the other one. We've got a set here. So these are then the earrings, how they look together. So a nice and autumn look, obviously with the colours that I chose, but you can really make this for any season or any kind of design that you want. So you have the earrings here, and then to match, I made this necklace as well. Just the exact same thing. I did all the leaves individually, added the beads, and then just instead of adding the leaf itself to the chain, I just added them to a jump ring that I then afterwards attached to the chain here. Going upwards, graduating as well, different sizes and the different colours. And then in this case, all I did is the very last leaf is kind of the lock for this, because I don't have a clasp on this, because I wanted it to be big enough to just go over your head anyway. So what I did, the very end of the chain, I looped around itself and then attached with a jump ring. So it's a little loop at the very end that I then put in between the last two leaves there, and that's kind of the closure in the sense that holds it fastened so it doesn't move. And then this is the chain, the necklace. So it's a really nice effect, a little bit tassel inspired, but just with leaves. So this is just the ones that I've made and the colours that I chose to make. You can obviously do whatever you want with these leaves. Make the earrings or the necklace or both. It's a nice set as well. So this is how you make them. It's pretty simple and easy technique to do. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this Macrame coloured leaves technique. And this is the piece that I'm working on today to show you. So as you can see, this is the result, and I've turned this one into a bracelet. Like so. So you could quite easily just make it like this. But this is mostly to show you the technique.